comment into Spanish. All right. Welcome everyone to the San Rafael City Council meeting. Today is Monday, May 6th. I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Bushy.
Present.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Present.
Councilmember Yeden-Scolati.
Present.
Mayor Kate is absent, so Councilmember Hill, you'll be Mayor Pro Tem Hill this evening.
Present. Thank you. So I'd like to start our meeting by, as we often do, give gratitude to our staff who in the halls, as well as out in the public, are doing the work that our residents expect us to do every day. So thank you to our staff. I will also start with a land acknowledgement as part of our opening. And in addition to this statement, the city collaborates with the tribe over our shared issues. We thank the original caretakers of this land. San Rafael is traditionally home to the Coast Miwok people, many of whom today are tribal citizens of the Federated Indians of Grayton Rancheria, and we honor their continuing involvement in stewardship practices that benefit us all. I will turn to the city clerk, who will describe how people can participate in tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is being recorded and streamed live to YouTube. Members of the public wishing to provide comments, there's displayed on the podium and the projector is a timer to help you stay within the 2-minute time frame. You're invited, though not required, to introduce yourself and say what part of San Rafael you live in or if you're from outside of San Rafael. We do offer closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom, and you can select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature. If you experience any technical difficulties, you can email me at city.clerk@cityofsanrafael.org. Thank you.
Thank you, city clerk. We will move to our city manager and council member reports. So I'll turn to the city manager to start.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Hill and council members in the community. I did want to, there's a proclamation on a consent calendar tonight, but as May marks Public Service Recognition Month, I wanted to make a couple of comments about honoring those who serve our community tirelessly. Many of them are in the room here today. I want to recognize the many remarkable over 400 individuals that make up the city's workforce. Their unwavering dedication and collective commitment to public service is what makes San Rafael a great place to live and work. Their hard work and dedication and professionalism deserve our utmost respect and appreciation. And to all of you city workers out there, thank you for all that you do every day. We're very, very grateful for you, especially as we have this proclamation coming this evening. We do have a couple of pretty cool events as the weather is warming up. So, and I also, in the spirit of Mental Health Awareness Month, wanted to mention an event that's happening on May the 9th, this Thursday at 5 o'clock. There's a free event at the College of Marin and Kent Field featuring Drew Robinson, who is a former Giants baseball player, and he is going to be moderated in a talk about his survivor story of mental health, hope, and recovery. Also, this week on Friday is the second Friday Art Walk downtown. That takes place from 5 to 8 o'clock. We've got May Madness this weekend, which is a really big deal. So that event runs from 12 to 6 downtown, the car show and cruise, and there's a parade on 4th between Lincoln and D Streets. Next week coming up, we've got the Taste of San Rafael, which is the State of the City, which is also a really fun event on Wednesday, May 15th. I believe there still are tickets. If anyone's interested in going, you can look on the San Rafael Chamber website from 4:30 to 7. And it's going to be at the Rafael Theater. Yes?
Outside.
Okay. And outside. I think both. I think a combo.
Yes.
And the farmers market is coming back starting next week as well, May 16th, which will run through the 24th of August from 5:30 to 8:30 downtown between A and Luton's. And I believe I'm going to give the balance of my time to the esteemed city attorney to make a few remarks.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, members of the community.
I wanted to make a few remarks tonight about reasonable accommodations. We had some inquiry about reasonable accommodations to attend meetings of this council, boards and commissions of San Rafael. And I wanted to describe that process briefly as it pertains to tonight and any other meetings that we conduct here in San Rafael. Reasonable accommodation under the law for persons with disabilities is mandated by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And the city complies with the act, strives to adhere to it in every respect. And our process here at City Hall is laid out on the website. If someone believes they require a reasonable accommodation in order to participate, for example, at a city council meeting, they are to make that request a requisite time in advance of the meeting. And then that's referred to our disability coordinator, who also serves as our building official, John Jepson. He handles those kind of requests. He also gets involved in dealing with analysis of disability accommodation in construction in San Rafael as well, because he sure knows how to do that too. So the process then is that the individual who seeks the accommodation provides information on a form that the city has to describe the request, and then there is a process that then ensues, which is iterative in nature as much as necessary in order for the city to understand the nature of the disability claimed and the accommodation that is desired. And reasonable accommodation, as I said, must be provided under the law. I think it's useful when analyzing the adequacy of a city's adherence to the law to look to the courts, which are governed by the same standard, because a courthouse is a place of public accommodation, just like a city council chamber. And in the courts of California, along with being governed like we are by the ADA, the courts have a rule called Rule 1.100 that requires a reasonable accommodation at the courthouse. And the Judicial Council of California has promulgated rules for all the courts to follow that the courts must adhere to in analyzing a request by any person who desires accommodation at the courthouse in order to be able to participate or observe judicial proceedings. So I think it's useful to read what's required there, although they put it in really small print because the judges can read better than I can. But they say in regard to reasonable accommodation requests at a court, all requests for accommodations must include a description of the accommodations sought, along with a statement of the impairment that necessitates each accommodation. The court, in its discretion, may require the applicant to provide additional information about the impairment. So that rule that the courts operate under is, I would suggest, the same way that the city's process would be evaluated by a court. We've, of course, never encountered any challenge, and we've successfully been providing accommodation as required and mandated under the law as long as I've been around, and even before. The Americans with Disabilities Act long predates my tenure as city attorney. So in connection with tonight's meeting, I just want to assure the city council that there is no person who has complied with the city's requirements for obtaining any reasonable accommodation for a disability claimed or otherwise. And so I just wanted to ensure, in case any question comes up, that the council's clear on that. I am made aware of those requests as they come in. And I know, sitting here now at 6 p.m., that there is no one that has complied with such requirements for accommodation for this meeting. So I'm glad to answer any questions if you have any, but I thought it important to describe that process at this time.
Thank you, City Attorney, and thank you, City Manager, for that report. I will turn to my colleagues to share their reports for this evening. I'll turn to my right, Councilmember Kurtz.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem for tonight. Thank you. I was invited by Sylvia Berry to participate in a SMART visit or visit at the SMART train to promote the free fares for youth and for older adults. And so that's anyone 65 and older can ride the SMART train for free. So please take advantage of that. I participated in the San Rafael Downtown Earth Day. Thank you to Corey Betoff for organizing, as well as with the Chamber of Commerce and the BID, Business Improvement District. Attended the MCCMC, which is Marin Council of Mayors and council members, legislative committee. Right now, we are waiting on the governor's announcement as far as the May revise. So we know from a budget perspective, there's a lot of legislation that is pending right now before funding's actually decided and work can move forward. Participated in China Camp's Earth Day, and today was the MWPA. We call it Sassafras, and it's the San Rafael San Anselmo Fuel Reduction Zone. And thank you to the San Rafael Fire Department for great walkthrough of the site. It's the work that's happening above San Rafael, sort of at the end of Fifth Avenue, all the eucalyptus trees. And it's really about how do we prepare this area? And it's not clear cutting. It is really about limbing up and clearing so that we're prepared for a fire. That event was actually also live streamed on Facebook, so you would be able to check in on it. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurtz. I will turn to my left, Councilmember Yohannes Gulati.
Yes, thank you very much. This is
Microphone, please.
Did I turn it off? Did I turn it off? Thank you. So hi, thank you very much. This has been like a busy couple of weeks. So I also celebrated Earth Day in the canal in Pickleweed. It was great to see the community and everybody who came. I also attended a breakfast with Congressman Jared Huffman, the annual breakfast where he gives an update on all his efforts in Washington, D.C. around climate action, which is always like very informational and really useful. So, and keep up the great work that he's doing over there. Also attended our regular meeting. We connect maybe once a semester with the city and Spinnaker and Bay Point, just to talk about the neighborhood and what's happening there. Also, we hosted the CCAP, which is the City Climate Action Plan quarterly committee and workforce development panel. And that was organized by our very own Corey Betoff, his team, and it was fabulous. We had 3 panelists to talk about green jobs. So we have Angel Minor from Conservation Corps and Fire Foundry, Sally Rogers from the Ecological Workforce Initiative, and also Louis Smith from MC, talking about the building energy efficiency programs and everything that they are doing to train our new workforce. So that was really great. Our very own Holly Lawrence updated us on SB 1383 and the reusable footwear ordinance. And Corey also gave an update on the green building reach codes that I believe we are going to see maybe in the next council meeting. Moving on, continuing talking about like Earth Day. We also had a meeting around Bay Wave, the Executive Steering Committee, and we were talking about Marin County governance for sea level rise and all the different efforts that they are happening at the county level. There was also an update on TAM's sea level rise adaptation planning for Marin County's transportation system. And another meeting with a MCE, the executive committee, to give an update on everything that is related to MCE. And then I will finish by a meeting that we have with San Rafael Routes to Schools Task Force. And they give an update on some of the improvements that they are going to be happening to connect kids from Venecia Valley to be able to use like a safe path for biking and pedestrian, and also brainstorming around Laureldale, the streets that connect with the school, Laureldale, Woodland, and also the back of Davison, and see if we can come up with some creative solutions there. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Yorans Galati. And finally, to my far left, Councilmember Bushy.
Thank you. Last week I attended a meeting of the board of the San Rafael Sanitation District. We are working on moving forward with an operational efficiency proposal that will hopefully allow us to do a better job of retaining our employees. We are looking at the possibility of contractual arrangements with the Central Marin Sanitation Agency. So we authorize sending a letter to CMSA to begin those negotiations. We are optimistic that a good arrangement can be made with those two agencies. I also today attended a meeting of the Marin Transit Board. I represent the Marin County Council of Mayors and Council Members, MCCMC, on that body. And there are one order of business today was to approve an additional extension of the Caller Ride program. That's where vouchers are provided to people to use either in a taxi service or through Uber. This is for low-income people. It's a widely available program, so I encourage anyone who feels they might be interested or qualify to go to the Marin Transit website. It's very easy to sign up, very easy to get access to these vouchers and low-cost transportation. One of the big topics today, though, at the Marin Transit Board meeting was a letter that Marin Transit was sending to the Golden Gate Bridge, Highway, and Transportation District. Commenting on their strategic plan. They are opening up a very broad strategic plan. Marin Transit was providing additional comments, and in seeing their Marin Transit's comments, I was thinking that San Rafael also has some very important strategic interests in what Golden Gate is up to. We will recall, of course, that the transit center is slated to be replaced here in San Rafael. We also have we host a Golden Gate bus yard out on Anderson Drive. Golden Gate is currently experiencing a 50% reduction in their bus ridership. So there may be changes coming there. And in addition, Marin Transit is citing looking to cite a facility somewhere in San Rafael, possibly in that same area. There seem to be opportunities for strategic efficiencies here that the city, I think, would be in a unique position to advocate for. So I'm looking at the city manager. I'm hoping I'll provide you a copy of Marin Transit's letter and we'll provide any additional input that you might require. And I also met this week with Supervisor Sackett. We discussed the school district's release of a list of surplus sites. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bushy. I have one meeting to report. This past Sunday, April 28th, I participated as a panelist at the second annual Marin County Youth Town Hall held at Marin County Civic Center Board Chambers. I'd like to thank the organizers and all the students who turned out. All the students asked very sharp questions about the major issues of our time. We encouraged all of them to hold their electeds accountable to the future. And I think that we're in good hands given the kinds of questions and the aspiring leaders that were before us. With that, I'd like to thank my colleagues for all they do away from the dais, and I will take public comment on the council member and council member reports. Sorry, the city manager and council member reports. Seeing none, I will close public comment and move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. Are there any items to be held from the consent calendar for comment? Not seeing any. I will open public comment on the consent calendar items 4A through 4J. See someone commenting?
Hi, my name is Karen. I'm a citizen here in San Rafael, and I'm also hi. I'm also the president and CEO of the San Rafael Chamber of Commerce. This consent calendar actually holds one of our items for our Leadership Institute, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to be able to move this project forward. I know that there was an expedited effort on city staff's part, and we're grateful for that effort. And that's all I wanted to say, really, is thank you so much for supporting all of the work that the chamber is doing and for this class and this cohort and the impact that they're leaving with our art project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just a student from the class, just representing.
Thank you. We're on consent.
Hi, Ava Crisanti here. I couldn't hear everything that was going on in the meeting. I had to ride over from the East Bay because you're not doing disability accommodations, which I requested months ago. So I heard a little bit. I was able to hear a little bit. But as far as I can tell, as is the norm for the city of San Rafael, they're not being entirely straight. I want to point out that Rachel Kurtz appeared at a Fairfax Town Council meeting. Sorry, I literally just got off the bike. It's a 20-mile ride in the wind. It was very windy. Rachel Kurtz was at a Fairfax Town Council meeting on Wednesday, May 1st, at a time when universities were in open revolt because of the genocide by Israel against Palestinians in Gaza.
Can we make sure this is related to the consent
Yes, I
calendar?
will make this related. You put Asian American Heritage, AAPI, on the consent calendar. Your proclamation is bullshit. Doesn't make any reference to the Chinese Exclusion Act. It makes no reference to Japanese internment. It makes no reference to the fact that Asian Americans, by the way, Palestinians are West Asians. And we have many Palestinian Americans here. And that was my point. I could not be interrupted by you, Mr. Hill. My point was that Rachel Kurtz, who is a member of Banjo, she's a co-chair of Banjo, which is a JCRC project. She got up, she did not identify herself as such at Fairfax Town Hall, and she proceeded to pretend that Jewish people are suffering from anti-Semitism in Marin County. She completely omitted the fact that she had to report a pro-Israel WhatsApp group to the San Rafael police because they were seeking a concealed carry weapons permit. I asked her questions about this over a month ago. I still have no answers from her.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments on the consent calendar this evening? Hearing none, we will close public comment on the consent calendar. I would request a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Consent?
Sorry, the consent calendar.
I'll second the consent.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I will call the city clerk to conduct a roll call.
Councilmember Bushy.
Aye.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Aye.
Councilmember Yeren Scolati.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Aye. That motion passes 4-0. We'll move on to the special presentation. As we do with special presentations, we will invite public comment prior. Any public comment on the proclamation this evening? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public comment. And I will invite the city manager to make a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted to open this item because I think it's really important to not just have a proclamation about Mental Health Awareness Month, but to really talk about it in a vulnerable way. I wanted to say a few words about how important it is to do that, to normalize people's struggles with mental health. The more we talk about it, the more it becomes normalized and destigmatizing. Some of my immediate family members have struggled with mental health conditions. And I'm sharing that tonight because of how important I think it is to continue to keep the conversation open. By speaking openly about how mental health impacts all of us as humans, we help break down the stigma surrounding mental illness. I also wanted to call out and sadly and tragically make mention that half of our workforce is public safety first responders, and tragically the percentages of suicide rates among first responders, particularly law enforcement, are 58% more likely to commit suicide than the general population. Firefighters are 21% more likely. EMS providers are 18% more likely. And I think it's important to point this out because both of our departments, the folks that are putting their lives on the line every day, they experience a lot of trauma, and it's very real, and it takes tremendous courage and strength for them to the toll that it takes on their lives and their roles to continue to protect and serve the community. And I'm really proud of our departments and the way they have stepped up in a leadership role to make sure those services are available to each other. They have incredible peer support networks, incredible trauma professionals that will come in to support when there are really particularly traumatic incidents. So I will leave it at that. I also wanted to put a shout out for the SAFE team, which is a resource and it's available to anyone, anytime. In San Rafael, it's 415-458-SAFE or 7233. And they will come, and we are working to expand those services to more hours of the day so we can serve more people in need. So I thank you for giving me a few minutes to make those comments. At this point, I'm going to, are we doing the proclamation? Back to you.
Okay. All right, so I will be reading our Mental Health Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas mental health is an essential component of overall well-being, and recognizing its significance contributes to a healthier, more compassionate society. And whereas the challenges and adversities faced by individuals struggling with mental health conditions deserve our understanding, support, and empathy. And whereas fostering awareness and understanding of mental health not only reduces stigma, but also promotes inclusivity, acceptance, and access to appropriate resources and treatment. And whereas our partner agencies, including Marin County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, along with numerous other county departments, community-based organizations, and healthcare providers also play a critical role in addressing mental health needs by contributing resources, expertise, and collaborative efforts to better serve our community, and striving to create environments that nurture healing, prioritize mental well-being, and uphold the dignity and rights of all individuals is a priority. Together, we can build a more resilient, supportive, and empathetic community for everyone. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Rafael do hereby proclaim May 24th as Mental Health Month. And I will turn it over. Will Kara Connell? Hey.
Yeah, we want to welcome Kara Connors from County Behavioral Health Program to say a few words.
Good evening. Thank you, Vice Mayor Hill, City Council, City Manager, and colleagues. I'm very honored to join you today and appreciate your leadership in creating awareness about mental health in our community. You prove that prioritizing mental health and connecting people to resources is a collective effort and takes each and every one of us. I truly believe that when we share stories, we can create change. When we see our stories in the lives of other people, that's when change can really take place. So thank you for that. Again, my name is Kara Connors, and I'm the Senior Program Coordinator for Suicide Prevention at Marin County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. 75 years ago, the U.S. Mental Health Month was first honored to help promote hope and to celebrate recovery. The month of May is a time for our community to raise awareness and create a community free of mental health stigma. Since this time, we've made significant progress across the country and in our community in mental health access, treatment, and practices, but there is more work to be done. Mental health challenges are one of the most common health conditions in California, affecting 1 out of 6 adults and 1 of 4 adults in Marin County, impacting both the person experiencing those challenges and the loved ones responsible for caring for them. These challenges are often compounded by determinants of health for many in our community, including LGBTQ+, people of color, older adults, and those that are unhoused. And so this month underscores the importance of creating inclusive and equitable connections across diverse populations to ensure supportive, accessible, and responsive programs for all. At BHRS, we oversee mental health and substance use services for low-income Marin County residents who have Medi-Cal or who are uninsured, as well as behavioral health crisis services for all county residents, regardless of insurance status. At the county, we have a 24 mobile crisis response team that responds to mental health and substance use crises in the community. And while mental illness, substance use, and suicidality often share risk factors, and they are complex health issues, they can be addressed through evidence-based treatments and strong community connections. On a community level, it is our collective responsibility to build our skills and knowledge so that each one of us can be a helper to someone who might be struggling. When was the last time you asked someone, "How is your mental health today?" Or "What can I do to help lighten your load?" While it may seem simple, questions like these can have a powerful impact and lead to meaningful connection and resources. One of those resources in our community includes the 3-digit 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline number. When someone calls 988, a trained counselor is there to listen, understand how their problems affect them, provide support, and connect them to local resources if necessary. As 988 is a go-to resource, BHRS and media specialists spearheaded the 988 Hope and Help campaign, which draws upon the lived experiences of many local men who are members of our community. In Marin County, men and boys account for 3 out of 4 suicides and overdoses. You'll see this campaign featured on the ferry kiosk, bus tails, flyers, and social media this month and in the coming months. And I have flyers out in the lobby to share with you. You can also learn more about this campaign at our upcoming May Mental Health Month events, with the first being the event that you mentioned earlier featuring Drew Robinson at College of Marin, who'll share a story of mental health and hope and recovery. But in addition, there are 2 youth events, including the Youth Wellness Festival on May 11th at Terra Linda High School, as well as a terrific 5K walk run on May 18th at McInnes Park. And then we close the month with Living Arts Playback Theater at Homeward Bound on May 21st. To register for these events, please visit prevention.marinbhrs.org. Thank you again for partnering in our work to create an inclusive, equitable, and just community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara, for being here this evening, and thank you for all the work you do every day, and not just this month, but throughout the year, to create more awareness and to make certain that services are delivered to all of our community members. Thank you. Since I read the proclamation already, I will invite the council to come down and we will do a quick presentation of the proclamation and a photo with Kara. Thank you. We will move on to agenda item number 6, which is the Community Development Block Grant agenda item. I will let staff introduce our county guest today.
Good evening, I'm Mel Burnett, Housing and Homelessness Analyst in Community and Economic Development. And I'm joined by Molly Cron from Marin County, and she's the Housing and Federal Grants Senior Planner. So I'm presenting the Community Development Block Grant funding recommendations for fiscal year 2024-25, or CDBG. So CDBG is a federal program that provides funding for local community projects, including affordable housing, infrastructure, and public facility upgrades and supportive services. Through a cooperative agreement, the County of Marin is authorized to manage CDBG funds on behalf of the City of San Rafael. And under that agreement, Marin County is divided into 3 planning areas: San Rafael, Novato, and countywide. And funding is divided proportionately within the 3 areas. To allocate these funds on an annual basis, the San Rafael City Council submits recommendations for its portion of funds to the Countywide Priority Setting Committee, which is made up of city and town council members, a county supervisor, and community members representing protected classes under fair housing laws. The Priority Setting Committee then in turn provides recommendations for the 3 planning areas to the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors reviews recommendations from the Priority Setting Committee and forwards its recommendations to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I just want to note that due to delayed budget approvals at the federal level, the county has not yet received final notice of the 2024-25 CDBG program allocation amount. The following recommendations are based on presumed level funding from last year, and recommendations are subject to adjustments necessary to accommodate any changes in final allocation given to the County of Marin by the federal government. So all applications received by the county were evaluated based on the national and local evaluation priorities and criteria listed here and in the staff report. In addition, the Priority Setting Committee established additional priorities for funding CDBG projects towards family housing and land trust models in Eastern Marin that provide home ownership opportunities. The PSC also identified priorities for public service projects, targeting concerns such as basic health services, children, youth, and parent support services, food security, and housing support services. And the following slides present the recommendations for the San Rafael planning area only, not covering Novato and countywide. Staff recommends funding for 3 affordable housing projects totaling $290,000, including for Artworks Downtown, to be used in completing the electrical system renovation for their 4th Street property, which offers 17 affordable rentals in downtown San Rafael. The second recommendation is for Habitat for Humanity Greater San Francisco for their affordable housing property at Redwood Boulevard, which is a home ownership development of 80 affordable single-unit homes on land donated by PG&E in Northern Marin. Units are available to the regional Marin County population, including San Rafael. And the third recommendation is for Marin Center for Independent Living and their residential access modification program, which offers home access modifications to increase housing accessibility for people with disabilities. Staff recommends 1 San Rafael capital improvement project to receive $125,000 in funding. This is towards Canal Alliance for its proposed pedestrian hybrid beacon and walkway, which supports the construction of a pedestrian crosswalk at Canal Alliance's new facility located between Francisco Boulevard and 2nd Street in San Rafael. The project will enhance pedestrian safety in accessing services on this busy road, which does not currently have traffic controls near the location, and the funding is intended to be paired with additional resources. For community services, staff recommends
5 projects totaling $60,000, which is the maximum that can be used towards public services. These projects include Pickleweed Preschool, which provides preschool programming for 68 children in the Canal neighborhood. Home Match Marin, which provides a roommate matching service mainly used by older adults. Benefits of the program include providing a means for older residents to remain in their homes and to supplement incomes while avoiding isolation. Marin YMCA for their expanding affordable childcare through YMCA elementary aged programs. This provides scholarship funds for 50 new subsidized spots for elementary students into YMCA childcare camps for the summer and the school year. Planned Parenthood Northern California towards increasing access to sexual reproductive health care in Marin County by supporting the purchase of new ADA-compliant exam tables and accompanying vital monitoring devices for the San Rafael Health Center, and towards Vivalon for their Nourish by Vivalon program, which provides home-delivered meals to chronically ill adults who are homebound and with low or extremely low incomes. The City Council has several options to consider. Staff's recommendation is that City Council adopt the resolution approving of funding as recommended. Council may also approve alternative allocations of CDBG funding or provide other direction to staff. So this concludes the presentation. And again, I'm joined by Molly Cron from the county, and we're available for any questions.
Thank you, Mel. And thank you for being here, Molly. I will turn to my colleagues for questions. We'll start with, to my right, with Councilmember Kurtz.
No questions, but I'll have comments later.
Thank you. To my left, we'll go to Councilmember Yoran Scolati.
No questions right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And finally, to my far left, Councilmember Bushy.
I have 2 questions. One is very specific and the other is somewhat vague. So I'll start with the specific one. On the funds to be used by downtown Artworks downtown, will those electrical improvements solely benefit the housing units, or will there be some benefit to the art spaces as well?
Sure, happy to answer that. So the project funding will go specifically to upgrading the knob and tube wiring in the housing units. That said, the overall electrification program and project that they have undertaken is benefiting the Art Center as a whole. So this has been a phased project over several years. About 2 years ago, they worked with PG&E to rewire the main part of the building to upgrade it from operating what would really be used for an 800 square foot house to something that should be utilized to operate a building of its size and capacity. So that work has been done. And in order to do that, there is extensive trenching. PG&E did a lot of work to rewire and reroute the electrical components. And now this project is ready to upgrade the actual individual units so that they can access this electricity.
Fantastic. So then we'll have an entire structure on our in our arts district. What is it? Arts district. All electrified and completely up to code.
Indeed, yes.
Excellent. Okay, now the bigger question. Now I can just look at the numbers and see what you didn't pick. If you had to say, what was your least desirable, the feature of your that you least wanted to fund? Does that?
What I can say is that the applications that we receive are from highly competitive projects. All of the projects that are being recommended for funding scored very well in their analysis of how they meet the requirements of HUD, how they meet the requirements that have been set by the countywide priority setting committee, and their ability to achieve their goals within a timely timeframe. One of the biggest challenges of this work is the lack of funding that we have and the extreme need that we see annually. We are, I was just reviewing the application packages, and In total, countywide, we received over $10 million worth of requests for what will be less than $2 million worth of funding. In order for us to grapple with these really hard decisions, this year, the Countywide Priority Setting Committee established an additional subcommittee made up of members of the Countywide Priority Setting Committee to review each of the applications and score them so that there could be a more hands-on role in making these decisions. Councilmember Kurtz was gracious enough to serve on this subcommittee. It was a lot of work and a lot of time and effort went into it. And I think that the result of that is a really robust and well-rounded set of recommendations that staff are very confident to present to you. A lot of difficult decisions had to be made in order to fit recommendations within the limited budgets that we had.
And they were done through a rigorous and recorded process, which we are grateful to Councilmember Kurtz for participating in. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Councilmember Bushy. I had one question, which is in the event that funding levels are below anticipated levels, and I want to mark that I heard that it is somewhat extraordinary that is this delayed to not know the number at this point in the year. Would we be able to move the resolution forward in such a way that we could proportionately or pro rata adjust the allocations?
Sure. So generally what is done is a pro rata reduction based on the reduction of funding that we receive from HUD. There is one caveat to that. We have a minimum grant size of $15,000. So the pro rata would be applicable to grants that are receiving a higher grant amount than that $15,000, with that being the floor. But that is generally the practice that staff undertake when making adjustments to allocations, unless we receive direction specifically from a council to allocate a reduction to a specific project.
Got it. And just to clarify, it would be the 15,000 total allocation, because there are some where we have multi-area allocations.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So for example, if we had one where the recommendation for San Rafael is 7,000, we would probably hold the 7,000, make the reductions across the other ones, assuming that it totals that 15,000 for that item.
That is correct, yes.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. I will now open public comment. I'll turn to the city clerk to indicate how people can participate.
It'll just be if you would like to provide public comment, you can come line up at the podium and provide 2 minutes of public comment.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Flannery, and I am the founder of Make It Home. We were one of the applicants of this CDBG grant, and regretfully, we're not going to be a recipient of any of the funding. So I would like to thank the committee. I know that it was a rigorous process. I do feel that there was a lack of understanding of the services that we do provide, and I would invite the committee as well as the council to come in and visit Make It Home. We are your local furniture bank, and that's a new concept in California. So we collect gently used furnishings from the public, and we give them back out to people who in the community are in need of furnishings. So we are diverting furniture from landfill and solving furniture poverty at the same time. So I would invite any of you who are not familiar with that concept to visit us over at Northgate Mall so that you can familiarize yourself with what we're doing. To this point, we've been open for 3.5 years, and we've served over 4,000 individuals in the Bay Area, alleviating their furniture poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Thank you. I want to point out that you have had one public comment on this item so far. You may have one or two others. And I think that is a testament to how successfully you have stymied public participation by closing the Zoom. So parents, I talked to a parent earlier today in Marin, and she wanted to attend this meeting. She wanted to participate. But because the decision has been made to block Zoom access, to block participation via Zoom, she can't participate in this meeting. What you've done is you've created a situation where only certain people get to participate, which is very much a mirror of what this council looks like. People who can afford to participate, people who are supported by the local Chamber of Commerce. In the case of Rachel Kurtz, people who are supported by JCRC, which is in itself supported by Mark Levine's branch of the ADL, which is a very, very questionable institution, unfortunately. And we need to talk about that more because right now, while you're talking about land issues, Rafa is being invaded again. And there is a very serious bombing campaign taking place. We've already seen 40,000 Palestinians blown to bits, and probably hundreds of thousands of others will die as a result of this conflict, which is paid for with our tax dollars and with the support of our government, our administration. This is not the Trump administration. This is a Democratic administration. And even though the majority of the country wants a ceasefire, the majority of the country, not just Democrats, the majority of the country wants a ceasefire, and we can't get it because of the things that Rachel Kurtz and Kate Collin have been emailing the Board of Supervisors. That's the benefit of a CPRA. That's what I found through CPRA. You need to put that on the agenda. We need to have an open discussion about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Oh, all right.
Good evening, City Council. A pleasure to see you this evening. It's a beautiful day. Whenever I come to these meetings, I always ask myself about the process. I'm trying to understand the process, how things occur, what needs to occur before a decision can be made. And listening to what I heard this evening, it sounded like you're giving away money you don't have yet. It sounded like there's a promise of money from a government that seems to be strapped on money, and you're giving it to others. So I don't know how that process works, but it sounds like a dangerous one to get into. The other is, and maybe this is more as a suggestion, earlier the city attorney mentioned reasonable accommodations, and then some other individual complained that these meetings were not accessible by everyone. And I didn't know if those two things could be matched up to solve that particular problem, because I do like listening to people in their comments. They get different perspectives on what the city council is doing, and it's informational for me. It gives me a sense of process and maybe a sense of control or influence, which a lot of us don't seem to have in this current environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Damien here. Born and raised in Marin City. I served in the Marin City Community Services District Board for 4.5 years. I have lots and lots and lots of experience as a so-called partner with the County of Marin. All due respect to Molly, but as a chair and a community member, that department, her entity, did not serve Marin City. This is the most inequitable county in California. We know that. Their department did not fund. They have not funded needed projects. As a board member for CSD, we declined giving away our properties to YMCA. Their office entity at the county took back grants from us, tried to squeeze us and make things worse for us. So my question is to the county and Molly, are you still practicing inequitable in ways? Are you still making certain communities doing your part to make them struggle? Are you still practicing racism? I've experienced this. I'm not making this up. Okay. Is that still going on? Are you funding your favorite nonprofits? Are you only funding certain nonprofit? Are you helping other nonprofits, other projects in the community? There's a lot of history here with these block grants and grants in general. So I know you have discretion to answer. Are you still practicing in the most racist way and probably the most racist counties in the USA? From experience as a board member, as a so-called partner with the county. Lots of experience. So that is a question for you. It's not something towards you as a person, but working with the county, I know how they operate.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, Jonathan Freeman here. I didn't think I was going to get up and comment, but listening to some of the folks, I really felt like I should. I was president of the board of RIN CIL about 30 years ago, so I know the hard work that they do, and I've known you, Molly, for a long while. And I've also been a philanthropist, giving away money of a number of different venues over the last 20 some odd years. It's tough biz. It's very difficult to do that, especially when you get so many worthwhile programs that apply, and it's very difficult to determine. And it can be a toss-up in many different situations. And I arrived when you were making your comments, Rob. I noticed these monitors with the captioning. The first one's a small one. It was because of me. So I know that there's good accessibility around here. It can be approved, of course, but now look what you got. So people with wheelchairs can get up around here, and there's other types of disabilities which are always cut out. But I know that when you were trying to consider the older Americans, I'm older American and got a hearing loss. When you're trying to consider to include everybody, that's what you're doing. It's very difficult. There is so much need and only a small amount of money, and it's really difficult. So even for myself, from my viewpoint and the people that I work with, it's disheartening to see that. And I know the big thing that we need to do is we've got to tax the rich. That'll shift things a lot.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, I will close public comment and request that staff respond to questions that were raised during public comment. I wrote a few down. I don't know if you want to start, Mel, or there was a question about standard practice to allocate funds before they're received.
Happy to address that. So Marin County is what is called an entitlement community. And as an entitlement community, we receive funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development using a formula. We are allocated these years on an annual basis. The federal government allocates these funds in a way that requires us statutorily to engage in a process of releasing an application, vetting those applications, and making recommendations for those funds oftentimes prior to actual receipt of that allocation. We do our best working with our representatives from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to estimate what those funds will be based on the allocation or the approved budget that the federal government provides. But because of the timing restrictions and the statutory requirements for us to be prepared for a submission to HUD by June, we are required to engage in a process before we receive our actual budgets.
Thank you. And then there was a question about equitable or inequitable practice. How do you practice equity?
Sure. So equity is it's really a paramount foundation of this work. CDBG was born out of the fair rights work that was began in the 1950s. And it is really, the goal of it is to circumvent and establish priorities in communities that were historically prevented from accessing opportunities, housing, generational wealth, because of policies that were handed down through federal government and then local and state governments as well. So this is really a foundational pillar of the work that we do. We, within the framework of the planning areas, so we have 3 planning areas here in Marin County: San Rafael, Novato, and County Other. A significant portion of our county other funds are invested into the Marin City community, as well as in portions of West Marin that are low income, oftentimes with farm workers. We also invest a significant portion of the San Rafael dollars into the Canal neighborhood of Marin City. So the of San Rafael. The Canal neighborhood of San Rafael and Marin City are 2 low to moderate income census tracts here in Marin County. And so they are critical partners for us to invest in projects. We do currently have funds invested with the Marin City CSD. We've had these funds invested with them for the past 3 years, and we have been working closely with Marin City CSD staff to get these project funds allocated to support the revitalization of that community center.
Thank you. I will turn to my colleagues if they have any comments, and I'll start with Councilmember Bushy. Councilmember Yorns-Galati.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation and for being here tonight and for giving San Rafael a big piece of the pie. I understand the frustration from nonprofits very well, and sometimes it's really hard, especially small nonprofits, that they have very limited resources to write grants, and how frustrating it can be, not to actually get any funding. But I know it's a very difficult decision as well. And I really appreciate, again, the support for San Rafael and especially in the canal. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Micah Yorns-Galati. And then to my right, we'll have comments from Councilmember Kurtz.
Thank you. And thank you to Molly and the whole team who worked through this process. I was involved from the beginning and I learned a lot. It was my first time doing it. So I do have some thoughts I'd like to share regarding the community development block grants, which I'll do in a moment. There were certain comments that were made at the podium concerning the Middle East conflict and which were personalized toward me. I'm not going to respond to those comments at this time because in my view, they have nothing to do with the community development block grants. In short, I'm going to focus my remarks on the agenda item, and I encourage everyone to do that. So as far as the community development grants, so many that we received, and I'm not sure if this is the case in other years, had to do with staffing and construction. And we know those are 2 very, very significant items anytime you're looking at funding. And as was mentioned, the number of grants that were received and the amount of dollars that we had to allocate, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, it was so hard. And I encourage, the whole process is very transparent and it's available on the county's website in terms of all the different grants that came through, how they're identified as countywide, county other, meaning they're not San Rafael, not Novato, not right. So they're in one of the other county areas. The reason we just talked about San Rafael tonight because we have our San Rafael specific funding, and where some of the amounts showed what San Rafael funding decision was, and then it said a different amount, a higher amount. It was being that other funding was coming in to support that. So it was incredibly hard. The process, we would rank. All of the grants were ranked based on the priorities. And first there was a process of agreeing on what those priorities were. So it was a very, very, not only time consuming, but very deliberate process and also very difficult. As I was reading in just my own personal take, I was looking on projects and initiatives that had already been started and needed additional funding to complete. And in some cases, it was sort of the make or break funding that was needed, whether I think it was for the YMCA, their summer program, they needed the additional funding for those kids for this summer. So it was very critical. Other ones were brand new initiatives, and those to me, because they might have staffing or construction involved, we know that the little bit of funding we can give was not going to make that much of a difference. So thank you. Really appreciate everyone. I appreciate all the grants that came through. I do like to look at the opportunity now, looking at those that did not receive funding, how we can work with them to approach this process differently. I do encourage the county staff to, if you're not familiar with an organization, to go and meet with the organization and really understand, because if the organization's intention and purpose is not coming through that grant, you get that more when you meet in person. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurtz. And I get to provide my comments last. So thank you, Molly, for joining our council meeting this evening. As personal testimony, I've served on the priority setting committee before. As Councilmember Kurtz shared, it is a very rigorous process that is followed. The priority setting committee consists of both electeds at all municipal levels as well as at-large appointments from the community to set the agenda as far as what are the priorities and then make really tough calls on recommendations. As you mentioned earlier, these dollars are precious few, and I think that it is a very difficult process to make these kinds of decisions. Those are my comments. Before I turn to council for a motion, I'd like to ask the city attorney for a recommendation how to make a motion such that we can accommodate a pro rata change in the resolution.
Sure. I'm looking at the 2 pages of the staff report with the grid that show the proposals. And generally, the larger ones are on the first page and the smaller ones are on the second page, except there's one outlier there. The fair housing one's a little more. So the couple of $15,000 ones that Molly referenced earlier are located there on the second page. I noticed there's another one for 18 and then a couple for 23. So consistent with what Molly said earlier, we can't go below 15. But we're not 100% sure at this point what the allocation is going to be. I sort of infer that we hope it's going to be exactly what we are expecting. We doubt it's going to be more. I guess it could be, but it's possible it might be a bit less. And so, but to cover all the bases, and again, I'm throwing out an idea. It's up to the council to deliberate, but just listening to the staff report and Molly and considering the deliberation, what you might consider is a motion that adopts the recommendation subject to a pro rata reallocation of the approved funds in the event that the ultimate funds received are greater or less than, with the condition that no grant can be less than $15,000, so that if there's a reduction, those grants that already are $15,000 can't be reduced, and any that go down to $15,000 can't be reduced anymore. So that if it was such a substantial reduction that it would have to go lower than that, you'd have to look to then go do the pro rata with the remaining grants. If the council was really concerned about how that might impact the allocation, depending on the potential reduction from HUD, you could place a limit on that. Say, if the reduction's any greater than 5 or 10% below what we expect, you could direct, I suppose, that it comes to the next council meeting for reconsideration. However, looking at the timeline, it seems pretty tight because we got to get this done by the beginning of June. So I hope that's helpful. You might want to deliberate again for a moment, and then if you give me the direction, I can kind of repeat and be a little more precise about capturing the language.
Question. This isn't the first time we've done this. What have we done in the past when we adopted a number that didn't line up, didn't come out to be the exact correct amount?
Sure. Excuse me. Historically, we adjust the figures by a pro rata share unless it is a reduction. We haven't had a reduction in the past. Well, we did have a slight reduction last year. However, we were able to find some one-time funds in order to fill in the gaps there. So this would, if there is a reduction this year, it would be the first time we've seen one in about 6 years, unfortunately. But what we typically do when we have received increases is we do it pro rata across all of the projects. And we would do so here as well, unless we received other direction from council on your allocations, with the cap at the floor at 15,000. So no grant would be less than 15,000, and then all of the other grants would sort of bear that pro rata reduction.
Right. So the $15,000 ones are sort of exempt from any reductions because they're already at the floor.
Exactly.
Okay. So it sounds like the existing practice is exactly what we're contemplating. So why do we need to do anything different?
I'd like to just make a comment on that. I agree. I mean, I think we just follow the existing process but before we do a reduction, if the amount comes in lower than what we're anticipating, before we go to a reduction, if you could find the one-time funds again, that would be good. So I don't want to immediately jump to doing a reduction. I'd like to see if there's other alternatives before going that route, but agree, we have an existing process.
So I did hear a question from Councilmember Bushy. Could we just not adopt it as is and the pro rata is already implied? Or if we don't, is there a risk that we'd have to come back and
I would just suggest that the motion be consistent with past practice regarding reallocation if necessary.
Okay, that sounds good. And I will invite a motion.
I'm happy to make the motion, adopt the resolution recommending CDBG project funding for fiscal year 2024-25 to the Marin County Board of Supervisors.
Consistent with the past practices.
Yes, consistent with past practices, yes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Bushy.
Aye.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Aye.
Councilmember Yedin-Scolati.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Aye, that motion passes 4-0. We will now move to open time for public expression. Are there any comments from the public on topics not on tonight's agenda?
And if I may, Mayor Pro Tem Hill, before we start, I am going to toggle our interpreters up. So if we could just give me one moment, Ava. We're ready. Thank you.
We are now open. Public open time is ready.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to an issue that has been underreported in Marin County. And it's a really interesting issue in contrast to the narrative that Rachel Kurtz and Kate Collin have been trying to affect both publicly and behind the scenes, which we can see from the letters I CPRA'd from the county, where they have continually tried to promote the notion that Jewish people in Marin County are deeply imperiled by anti-Semitism, when in fact, the violent racist hate crime, the most noteworthy one, was an attack on the Islamic Center of North Marin, which occurred on March 11th. And I don't believe anyone on this council made reference to that attack, and certainly I've not heard that from Rachel Kurtz, but maybe she knows otherwise. The defendant is from a once prominent Jewish family. The grandfather was a principal member of Rodef Shalom and Kol Shofar, a very proud family, a good family. And the grandson decided on the first night of Ramadan to attack, to travel all the way from San Rafael, where he may or may not have been influenced by the WhatsApp group that Rachel Kurtz was a part of, in which he had to report to the police chief of San Rafael because of the concern about their interest in concealed carry weapons permits. This man took a gun of some sort and pepper spray, which he had illegally purchased. And he proceeded to beat and pepper spray congregants at the Islamic Center of North Marin. This man, David John Morgoliash, is being treated with kid gloves by the white DA, being treated, very well by the white judge. And yet no one is talking about this act of Islamophobia.
Okay, thank
And
you.
it's very
Thank you.
concerning.
Thank you, Ava. I would like to call Jerry McNulty and then Kathy Healy for their comments on illegal anchor outs.
Great. Let it be go first.
Okay.
Good evening, City Council and staff. My name is Catherine Healy. People call me CJ. I'm a teacher at San Rafael High School. Been there for over 20 years. My husband and my family and I live in San Rafael. We live in Bret Harte. We've raised our 3 kids here, all gone through San Rafael City Schools. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about a class that I teach using the San Rafael Channel and Turning Basin on the canal. So you may or may not know about the San Rafael High School PE sailing class. It's a 10th grade PE class where public school students in our community can learn to sail for free and earn PE credit. And I've been teaching this class for 20 years now or more. And I'm here tonight to talk about the space that we use for our class, which is the San Rafael Turning Basin. And first of all, also thank you for your partnership with the San Rafael Yacht Club, which allows us to offer this class for free. We don't pay to use their facility. I'm here tonight to talk about my concerns with the San Rafael Turning Basin, which I'd already communicated in a letter to the city manager's office and mayor's office in January, but received a response, but no resolution. So there's currently 2 what we call anchor outs in the turning basin. So individuals who have dropped their anchor and are living in the turning basin, they've slowly amassed a fleet of small other boats and other people that come aboard their boat on a regular basis. My main concern is safety of my students, and that's why I'm here tonight, as well as the pollution that's coming from these boats, including human waste, because you live on a boat without paying a lot of money to have it pumped out regularly, and they're not pumping it out. So I'd like to know what is being done about this.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi there. My name is Jerry McNulty. I'm a Commodore of the San Rafael Yacht Club. We're a family club. We're right there in the turning basin. Kathy's group is on our property. And we're very concerned with these anchor outs. And it's not just the human waste, but that's a real big part. There's a lot of suspicious activity there that is attracting a lot of other people. The boats we're talking about are uninsured vessels, which there's a big liability there. And it's already happened once this year where during a storm, one broke loose, and if it hits something, it's going to cause damage. Okay, so I don't know if it's a city property, it's on you. These boats are actually tied up to San Rafael city property right at Beach Park there. They're tied up to your property. Okay, so if we let them continue, and this has gone on now for close to 3 years. If we let them continue, you saw what happened in Richardson Bay down in Sausalito over the years. That could very much happen here. And it's something that's going to have to be addressed pretty soon. Or we're going to have all the anchor outs they're throwing them out of down there. They're going to say, hey, San Rafael's a cool place. Let's just go up there and stick it up there, and they won't throw us out. These people drive nice cars, some of them, they have other boats that are decent. These aren't homeless people. Okay. It's their little, place where suspicious activity can go on. I'm not going to accuse them of anything, but we've sat at the yacht club and watched some stuff go down that if you want to talk to me personally, I'd be happy to let you know what's happening. The police all know about it. These individuals have been arrested several times and stuff, but still.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mia Burnt, and I'm with Jerry and CJ. And I have a couple pictures. I don't know if you guys want pictures, otherwise I can email them to you. And I just had a couple questions about we have, what do we have?
So we can't answer questions, but you can refer them to the city manager.
Okay, perfect. So we have a bunch of ordinances that I'd like to have. There's a bunch of ordinances that I think need to be checked out. And I think I have them highlighted on here. And also, I want to, first of all, thank you for your diligence and hard work getting the Santa Fe Canal dredged in 22 and 23. We really, really appreciate it. It helps with all the property values in our area. It helps with our recreational boating. It helps with the kids doing sailing. So we want to keep that area nice. I would like to request increased SRPD marine patrol at the turning basin and also increased SRPD vehicle patrol at Beach Park and the turning basin. And like Jerry mentioned, do they have proper sanitation practices? I doubt it. Are there property taxes paid on their boats? I doubt it. Are they registered? I doubt it. Are they determined seaworthy by City of Santa Fe or the Coast Guard? Don't think so. Do they have permission to be tied up to the city property? They're not anchored there anymore. They're literally tied to your seawall there. And so we have lots of pictures, and it's not just anchoring. One of them has at least 5 boats there now. And I watched one sink 2 months ago, called the police. The police came out, and then he ended up getting it pumped out. And then later that night, we smelled a strong smell of like gasoline. So, were they discharging gasoline into the canal without us knowing? So there's just a lot of things that we're all concerned about, and we want our area that we love to stay beautiful. So thank you. And can I give these pictures to anybody or just email them or?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
May I?
Yeah.
They said I could go.
Oh. Sorry. It's okay. Thank you.
My name is Bob Middlestead. Along with Jonathan Freeman, we co-founded a group called E-Bike Access. And I want to tell you about a big breakthrough that we just had and to encourage San Rafael to get on board with it. But first, I just have to say that I think personal attacks on anybody's heritage and religion has no place in a place like this. That said, the breakthrough is this. On Friday, the chiefs of police of Ross, Fairfax, Central Marin, and Mill Valley sent a letter to the school parents advising them that the throttle electric devices that we see kids riding on the streets and that Damon Conley correctly said is causing a shocking accident rate, that they're illegal. And the chiefs made 3 points. A device like that is illegal if its motor is capable of going over 20 miles per hour. And most of what we're seeing on the streets that the 10 to 15-year-olds are riding fall into that category. He also said that they're going to be announcing, they're going to start enforcing this after a 2-week grace period. They're going to be working with schools to register bicycles and ensure that they're only the safe, legal ones that are being ridden. San Rafael didn't sign on to the letter. We're in contact with the police department and encouraging them to sign it, and I hope they will. Jonathan and I are also continuing to work with the San Rafael School Board to get on board with the registration. And I know the community would appreciate anything this council can do to bring us to that end. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muy buenas noches, queridos concejales.
Good evening, members of the council.
Mi nombre es Marina Palma y estoy aquí
No, my name is
representando.
David Palma, and I'm here.
Thank you. Hey, Mario, if you could wait until she concludes her 2 minutes, just so she can make her thoughts succinct. Thank you.
Estoy aquí como miembro de la Unión de Inquilinos del 400 Canal. Tenemos más problemas ahora. El problema es de que, aparte que la renta está muy alta, altísima, ahora los están haciendo pagar por servicios públicos. Están recibiendo cobros de $211 a $740. Estamos hablando por un periodo de 40 días. Nosotros
I'm here as a member of the 400 Canal, and things are getting worse now, given that the rents are getting high, really high. The public services, now people are getting bills of $200 up to $700.
Lo que sucede es de que esto está causando más frustración. Ya aquí nuestra administradora de la ciudad nos habló acerca de mantener nuestra salud mental. Pues este es el ejemplo en lo que causa frustraciones. Todas estas personas ahora están bien preocupadas. ¿Por qué? Porque poco a poco los dueños de esta compañía están casi forzando a que estas personas se vayan de donde ellos están acostumbrados a vivir. Ahora están pagando unas cantidades demasiado altas.
What this is causing is a lot of frustration. And our city manager here has told us about how important mental health is. And all these people are suffering a lot of frustration with this. And the owners of these companies, what they're doing is that they're forcing all these people that are used to living in this area, that they like living in this area, forcing them to leave. That's what they're doing right now.
Nosotros hemos tenido la gran suerte de que estoy en comunicaciones con Alexis, a donde incluyo a nuestra concejal Michael Lawrence, incluyo también a nuestra administradora e incluyo a la señora Lucia de Ayuda Legal de Marín. Nosotros nos sentimos que estamos no abandonados, pero venimos a esta reunión a pedirles a ustedes a que nos apoyen un poquito más. Yo sé que lo están haciendo bien, pero que estén conscientes de lo que está pasando. Principalmente si van a vender ustedes un edificio en nuestra comunidad, que por favor piensen en las personas que viven en esa comunidad. Por ahora no sé qué vamos a hacer. Gracias a Dios, ya Alexis nos dijo que vayamos a Ayuda Legal de Marín y a lo mejor a ir a hacer a la fiscalía. Pero yo necesito que ustedes nos ayuden a que pare todo esto. No sé, el señor va a traducir.
Yes, we're having the support. We're connected with Alexi and also with our council rep, Micah, and then with the city manager. I know we're not alone. I know we're getting support. We talked to the district attorney, and he suggested that that we ¿qué fue lo que dijo? ¿Qué dijo el
No era el district attorney, es la Ayuda Legal de Marín.
Oh, to go to
I can go ahead and email
the Marine Legal Aid, the Marine Legal Aid, and ¿qué sugirió Marine Legal Aid?
Bueno, voy a concluir mi presentación diciéndoles de que nosotros, yo sé que ustedes trabajan basados en data, en reportes. Nosotros podemos conseguir esos reportes para que tengan verificaciones de lo que está pasando y para que vean ustedes lo palpable y lo horrible que estas personas se están sintiendo. Este día hemos venido un grupo como unos 30 acá y ellos están dispuestos a dejarles a ustedes las copias de los cobros, las copias de los contratos, porque estas personas ahora de verdad están solo ganando para pagar renta y para que les presten dinero para terminar de pagar renta y lo de estos cobros tan altos que no están dando. Aparte de eso, están cobrando por estacionamientos extras 150 o 178 y de verdad que es demasiado. Creo que esto es un abuso lo que están haciendo con estos residentes. Muchas gracias.
I am going to conclude my presentation because I know that you make your investigations based on the data. We do have the data. All these people here that are with me now, they have copies of their bills, their utility bills, their rent bills, and the people now are just working to pay and then getting in debt because they have to make loans to continue to pay so they can continue living there. We are tired. We are exhausted with this situation. This is causing so much stress now. We can leave those bills with the copies with you so you can look at it, the utility bills and also the rent. Now they're charging for parking $175, $150, $175. That is included now.
Favor, help us stop gentrification, because that's exactly what's going to take place.
Thank you, Marina.
And if I will, Mayor Pro Tem Hill, I'm going to go ahead and toggle our interpreters. And Pedro, you'll go ahead and continue with consecutive. And if I could remind everyone to please speak slowly to allow our interpreters to provide effective interpretation. Thank you. Pedro, are you ready?
Muy buenas noches para todos ustedes.
Yes, I am.
Mi nombre es Glendy. Estoy acá otra vez nuevamente. Hace poco venimos también. Estuvimos acá abogando para que no hubieran desalojos, pero lamentablemente hoy estamos acá reunidos con todos los que estamos acá atrás. Hay muchas personas de los inquilinos del 400. Estamos frustrados, no hayamos qué hacer. Lamentablemente nos ha venido un bill muy alto. A mí me subieron la renta de $800, entonces estoy pagando de 2 recámaras $2,800. Aparte parqueo, aparte lo aumento que me vino de $345. Esto no es justo lo que está pasando en la área del 400. Lamentablemente nosotros estamos frustrados ya de tanto. Ya tenemos 2 años de estar en la lucha de esto. Basta ya. Queremos vivir una vida en paz con nuestros hijos. Sabemos que lamentablemente en el 400 han estado habiendo muchos abusos con nosotros los inquilinos. Queremos, por favor, ustedes de la ciudad, que si nos pueden apoyar y ayudar en esto. No tenemos los recursos para estar pagando tanta renta. Nosotros trabajamos todos los días, pero no nos alcanza para pagar tantos biles. Tenemos nuestros hijos, tenemos también gastos con nuestros hijos. Por favor, queremos que nos ayuden, nos apoyen con esto, lo que está pasando. Lamentablemente, es mucho lo que está haciendo este señor que compró el edificio. No es justo para nosotros. Muchísimas gracias y espero que nos apoyen en esto. Gracias.
Hello, good evening. My name is Wendy, and we are here again to advocate for some of the residents. We got a really big bill, and also they're increasing our rent. We are very frustrated. We've been working for this with this for 2 years. So basically what we want to live in peace with our children and with our family. If the city can do something for us, please help us, because it's been very complicated with all the increase that we have in our bills. We have people with us, we have other expenses that we need to cover for our families. So we are here to express our disagreement and see if you guys can help us.
Thank you.
Hola, muy buenas noches, señora alcaldesa y concejales. En nombre de la Unión de Inquilinos del 400, vengo a pedirles y a suplicarles que nos ayuden en esto que nos está pasando. La mayoría de todos los inquilinos que vivimos en los 400 no pudieron estar acá, pero como ustedes ven, la mayoría de los que estamos acá en la sala somos de la Unión de Inquilinos del 400. Le pedimos y le suplicamos a ustedes que nos ayuden a parar esto que nos están haciendo. Para mí es una injusticia, ya que nos han aumentado demasiado en renta y ahora en enero nos dijeron, haciendo creer, nos enviaron una carta de que ya no íbamos a pagar por agua, ni por alcantarillo, ni por basura. Entonces, nos han aumentado a diferentes inquilinos de diferentes apartamentos, nos ha llegado el bill de diferentes precios. El mío llegó de 211,10 centavos, pero como hay muchos inquilinos que les ha llegado hasta casi de $500 a $700. Yo creo que además de que pagamos casi $1,000 más de renta, que nos han aumentado, nos están haciendo creer que ya no vamos a pagar el agua, el alcantarillo, la basura y ahora nos mandan un bill. Por lo tanto, acá ustedes pueden ver, yo traigo mi bill y eso es una injusticia. Y quiero que ustedes que trabajan para la ciudad nos ayuden, nos apoyen, porque como madre de familia estoy acá dando la cara porque también tengo hijos, tengo un joven que se va a ir a la universidad y por ustedes saben que eso cuesta mucho dinero y nosotros somos de bajos recursos. Muchas gracias.
Hello, good evening. I'm part of the union of tenants, the 400. So I'm here to ask and beg you for help. So basically, we are asking the members of the council that we need help because this situation is very unfair. This month, I got a bill for 211 and 10 seconds, but I know some other residents, they got almost 500 or even 700. Also, we have another rent. If we still have to pay the rent, there is almost $1,000. So we are getting another bill that is really unfair. This situation is very unfair. We work every single day to provide that our children need. I have children as a mother of the family. I have one son that he's going to college, and as you know, that's very expensive. So we are here basically to help us because you guys work with the city to help us with these increases and these other expenses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Floridalma Rodas y vivo en el 400 apartamento y soy líder de Voces de Canal. Vengo a suplicarles de la situación actual que se está viviendo en los 400 apartamentos. Desde que llegó la corporación Meridian a los apartamentos, se nos incrementó la renta y ahora se nos está cobrando los servicios públicos. Pues anteriormente no se nos cobraban los servicios. Esto estaba incluido en lo que es la renta. Ahora le pregunto a la ciudad si en realidad ellos saben de si estas personas tienen la capacidad de poder estar haciendo cambios drásticos que hacen las familias que vivan frustradas y preocupadas. Por ello que venimos pidiendo ayuda legal de Marín y la ciudad para que haya un control con esta corporación que viene afectando económicamente a nuestras familias. Por favor, queremos que nos ayuden a que se den fin a esta situación. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Floridalma Rodas, and also I'm the leader or Voices of Canal. We noticed since in the apartments 400, Meridian increased the rent. This is really awkward because before all the services were included in the rent, so we didn't have to pay the services. So now this time here, I want to ask the members of the council if these people can make those changes to increase our expenses. That's why we are here to ask if the city of Marine or Marine Aid can do something about it, because we are low income people and it's really hard to keep our expenses in time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Gloria Calderón y estoy acá porque tengo 2 meses viviendo en el 400. Estoy pagando 3,600 de renta y ya me dijeron que el próximo año voy a pagar $4,000. Pero no me comentaron o no me enteré que también tenía que pagar servicios públicos. Recibí mi bill de $465, aparte la luz, aparte el parqueo que están cobrando 175, y pues estoy acá porque es demasiado, ¿no? Y queremos ver si nos pueden apoyar con sus apoyos, de que estamos de acuerdo que pagar luz, pero los servicios públicos yo creo que es demasiado para nosotros. Entonces, si por favor nos pudieran apoyar con que sean justos, que nos cobren lo correcto, ¿no? O lo que la ley dice, pero yo creo que es demasiado lo que nos están cobrando por ahora. Y no todas tenemos la posibilidad de pagar toda la cantidad que nos están cobrando. Por ejemplo, yo soy mamá soltera. A mí se me dificulta pagar todo esto. Sorry. O sea, yo conozco mis necesidades, no sabemos las necesidades que tienen las demás personas. Yo creo que nos deberían de cobrar lo justo. Si nos pueden apoyar con esto, se los agradeceríamos mucho. Muchísimas gracias. Que tengan buena noche.
Hi, good evening. My name is Gloria Calderon. I've been living in the apartments 400 for 2 months. I'm sorry. Right now, my rent is $3,600, and they told me that next year my rent is going to be $4,000 plus parking plus other services. Right now, I received a bill for $465 just for the utilities. This is too much. And I'm here to ask you if you guys can help us. If you can help us with this expenses, because not all of us can afford those bills or those expenses. I'm a single mother, and if you know, I mean, not all of us have the opportunity or have the ability to make these payments. So I'm here to ask you if you guys can help us, because this is very important. Please don't ignore our necessities, and we don't ignore the necessities to others. So that's why we are here, to ask for help. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Efren, and I'm here supporting my community, but as well as my parents who have been living in the 400s for close to 20 years now. We haven't signed a new contract, so it's still under the old contract. And what they're doing is they're trying to take advantage of a lot of the tenants that are there. They're adding charges that were not contemplated in the original lease agreement. That includes the utility bills that are being brought up right now. They are also adding parking fees that weren't there before. They removed the parking spots. So now if you have a 3-bedroom apartment, you get 1, whereas before you got 2, right? But if you live in a 3-bedroom place, you know that more than one person has a car. So it's just very unreasonable to just offer 1 to begin with. So, I think one of the legal issues here is that they're trying to charge tenants things that are not meant to be charged. If you have a new contract, great, but a lot of the tenants still have the old contract and they're trying to take advantage of that, which is not right. And when you do try to work with management or with the person who's there, it can be very difficult. They will, often not pick up the phone. They will be there, won't open the door for you. So you need to be, very pushy in order to get a response or some help from them. I think it would be great if the city could support the community and, just provide more support to the tenants that are currently, not having a very pleasant situation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maximo. I'm here because I have the same problem for everybody. I live in 400 Canal for more than 20 years. So I'm support our community because we have the same problem. So since when they changed the owner, we start making have problem more than the 2 years in the building because, we fight for the rights, maybe you remember somebody here was before over there. So, but the problem continues. So right now we have more problems. So they start charging parking. Depend if the price, they have $150 and $175 for each parking, plus garbage and water. So plus the rent, they increase, in my case, 9.8 increase the rent. So it's out of control right now in this building. So that's why the reason we are here, but you need help. Can you do something for us and take control with these people because it's impossible, to live in this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Primero quiero agradecerle a Maika, que ya la había visto antes en una reunión en 400 Canal. Vivo ahí por casi 20 años y pues estoy aquí con todos los compañeros por el mismo problema. Nos gustaría que la ciudad, ustedes como miembros del consejo, nos apoyaran. Estamos acostumbrados a vivir en el área, nuestros hijos ahí crecieron y nos gustaría permanecer en ese lugar por más tiempo. Hemos sentido que somos bienvenidos en la ciudad de San Rafael, pero últimamente con el problema en nuestro edificio o en el edificio donde estamos viviendo, nos sentimos mentalmente capaces de seguir adelante. El estrés, la frustración es bastante y queremos que la ciudad pues nos apoye. Los problemas pues son los mismos, repetirlo sería volver a lo mismo, pero lo que sí quiero es que como concejales, como miembros del concilio, nos apoyen, busquen el bien de la comunidad latina que vivimos en el canal. Por ahí alguien decía que quería mantener su comunidad igual de bonita. Nosotros queremos lo mismo, que San Rafael, que el área del canal siga siendo un lugar que le dé la bienvenida a quienes venimos como inmigrantes a esta ciudad, a este país. Muchas gracias y feliz noche.
Hello, good evening. First of all, I would like to thank Micah. I've been living in the 400 apartments for 20 years. And basically, I'm here for the same reason. I was wondering if you guys can help us, because at the same time, you guys are going to help our children. Our children who grew up here. We are very welcome. We feel very welcome in the area and also in the building. But basically, I'm here to express the same problems with the bills and all the increases. Please give us the opportunity to live in this area. Someone mentioned before that she wants to keep the area nice and beautiful. So that's what we expect. So please help us with the Latin community because we want to welcome and we want to stay in this area here in the US. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Good evening. Just hearing what they're saying is really disheartening. Years ago, I was in law school and working with the housing clinic, and these cases like these were constant. It's very sad to hear. I certainly hope you all can do something. I did want to follow up on what I said earlier about the accommodations, and Damien's always done a great job of focusing on the people so I can read their lips, and Vin Pham's done a great job with Listen Everywhere, and Lindy's always done a great job connecting with everybody. So there is that. And I was going to talk a bit more about what Bob Middlestat said about bikes, but I thought bikes and teens and tweens, but I send you all an email on the 20th of March and really concerned about the fact that Last Mile Marin opened up in October, right around the time this whole thing about e-bikes was heating up. And it's almost 2 months later, and it finally looks like some action will be taken part on the city. And because we're just dealing with problems for these poor kids on these bikes who I think the entry rate is like 70% for those 10 to 15. It's just very bad. And then, you know, the room is filled with folks who are looking at having their whole life taken away because of these avaricious landlords. And that's pretty sad. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Sara Benítez. Creo que ya he venido antes, pero hoy creo que estoy por lo mismo con mi comunidad del 400 Canal. A mí no me han aumentado la renta mucho porque yo vivo en un apartamento que no está remodelado aún todavía. No he recibido la carta, pero he visto que mis vecinos se han removido y algunos les han aumentado mucho la renta. Y ahora parece que están remodelando y no están cambiando las ventanas como en los primeros apartamentos que remodelaron. También estoy aquí porque a mí también me llegó el cobro del agua y de la basura y mi bill es de 211 con 10 centavos. Y haciendo matemáticas, yo hice que 210, sumando que todos mis vecinos nos cobraban lo mismo, pero oigo que no es la misma cantidad, pero yo hice que si nos cobraban 211 por mes, al mes por las 99 unidades van a ser $20,000 con $898 mensual. Y si eso le agregamos al año, van a ser $250,000 con 786 centavos. Siendo que eran 211 para todos, pero veo que es más la cantidad que yo hice haciendo mis matemáticas. La otra cosa, hablaron creo que de salud mental y eso está bien porque yo también creo que yo necesité la salud mental hace un tiempo y me ayudaron bastante con el BH, el programa que tiene el condado de Marin. Me beneficié mucho de eso, pero ahora con toda esta situación de mi vecindario, creo que también vamos a estar mentalmente, no vamos a estar sanos. Eso incluye los niños, los adolescentes, y yo tengo un niño con autismo, entonces creo que ustedes como concejales de la ciudad, pónganse a pensar esta noche que todos tenemos el derecho a vivir con dignidad. Y también mi esposo trabaja y hay personas blancas que tienen mucho dinero y no nos pagan. Y nuestro trabajo es regalado. Imagínense los que trabajan en restaurante hasta las 12 de la noche.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Oh, wait, sorry.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sara Benitez. I think I've been here before. So basically it's the same. I didn't get an increase on the rent and I haven't got the letter from the property management yet. But because my apartment hasn't been renovated. But I noticed that my neighbors got an increase on the rent and everything is changing. For example, this month I got a bill for water and trash and it was $211.10. I did my math, and if all the tenants are charged with the same amount, per month, we're going to get like $20,899. But a year is $250,000 with 86 cents. That was my calculation. I know you guys were talking about mental health, which is really good. And I needed it. And they helped me with this new program. And with this increase on our bills, probably we're going to have to need more mental health, especially for our children, for our young people. In my case, I have a kid with autism. So it is very important that you guys help us with this situation because the situation at 400 is very complicated. Thank you.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Estoy aquí como todos los demás que están aquí presentes, la comunidad de Canal del 400. Nosotros fuimos desalojados hace poco también. Mis papás le aumentaron la renta y es algo muy difícil ver que mis papás tienen que trabajar más cada día porque han aumentado demasiado la renta, tienen que pagar basura, agua y es tan difícil saber qué está pasando eso en nuestras casas, en la comunidad. Soy estudiante y tengo preocupaciones también por mis estudios, quiero salir adelante y saber qué está pasando eso también en el 400 es algo muy difícil para mí y para todos los que están aquí presentes. Como estudiante no es justo que les aumenten eso, tienen que trabajar más. Cada día ellos trabajan más duro para nosotros y para la comunidad. El aumento de renta no es justo en el canal. Tienen que dar una explicación los del Meridian para saber por qué han aumentado tanto la renta y que por lo menos le bajen a la renta, porque todos tienen estrés, preocupaciones, que tienen que trabajar solo para la renta. Como estudiante también hay tanto en nuestra comunidad que no ven, que solo piensan en ellos mismos, pero no ven en los demás de la comunidad. Todos tienen sus preocupaciones, sus diversos problemas, pero también tienen que ver que así como ellos necesitan dinero, así los demás necesitan también, porque todos los estudiantes, sus papás trabajan duro cada día, son jóvenes y luego tienen que trabajar ellos también para ayudarles a sus papás a pagar renta y tendrían que tener alguna ayuda también. Muchas gracias.
Hello, everyone. I'm here basically because the same reason of the situation at 400. We noticed we were evacuated because the increase of rent. My father has to work more and has to work more time to provide and to pay those bills. I'm a student. And obviously, I want to succeed and I want to keep going. But it's really hard when we know that our parents have to work extra hours to pay all the services we have. The increase of this rent from Meridian, I think they have to explain how this works and why they're increasing all these numbers. Again, as a student, we notice that everyone has problems and everyone has the needs. And that's why we are stressing out because we know our parents have to work harder and even sometimes it's not enough to pay everything. So please help us with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Elvin Mazariegos y estoy aquí también apoyando a mis compañeros. Vivo en el 400 Canal y mi razón de estar aquí es por lo mismo. La verdad es que a mí me menearon hace 2 meses para un apartamento. Supuestamente estaba completamente remodelado. Me subieron $800 y el apartamento no tiene remodeladas todas las ventanas ni las puertas. Entonces, quisiera saber por qué incrementaron esa renta. Y la verdad es que todos los padres de familia con este aumento debemos de trabajar hasta 10, 12 horas. Ahorita yo mismo vengo del trabajo, trabajando hasta 10, 12 horas porque necesito ganar el dinero para pagar esta renta. Y hoy pago $2,800 y dice que ya para el otro año, en febrero otra vez, tengo que pagar $3,200. Más el bill, como todos mis compañeros enseñaron esta tarde, es demasiado para nosotros. Yo les pido por favor que ustedes pongan la mano en la conciencia y puedan ayudarnos con estos aumentos que estos dueños han tenido, ¿verdad? Así que es todo lo que puedo decirles. Muchas gracias.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elvin Mazariegos. I'm another resident at 400 Canal. And I just want to let you guys know that my rent was increased by $800, but it's not fully renovated. So I'm not sure why they did this increase if I know the whole unit is not renovated. Lately, I've been working, and all of us are stressing out because we are working 10 to 12 hours so we can pay these bills. Right now, my rent is $2,800, but they told me that next year in February is going to increase to $3,200 plus the utilities payments, etc. So we are here to ask for your help and to help us with that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Buenas noches. Bueno, yo creo que ya todos, ¿verdad?, expresaron lo que estamos viviendo. En el 400 ahorita, yo sé que están remodelando, yo sé que me imagino que este incremento de renta es por todo lo que están gastando, pero pues no es la culpa de nosotros, ¿verdad? Y bueno, yo creo que a mí todavía no me han removido del lugar, pero ya me llegó también el pago de agua y basura. Para mí no es nueva noticia, ¿verdad? Pero lo que sí es nueva noticia es el incremento de la renta. Nosotros alrededor de nosotros vivimos rodeados de gente que está borracha, drogadictos, marihuanos, y no hay un control. Suceden muchas cosas, por ejemplo, en los parqueos. Se llevan los carros, se roban los carros y no hay evidencia. Supuestamente hay cámaras, pero las cámaras yo lo sé, no sirven, que no sé qué pasa. A mí me pasó que, pues, ¿verdad? El que andaba bolo ahí, borracho, haciendo desorden, pero pues no hay a quien hablarle. Antes vivíamos mejor porque teníamos las 24 horas estábamos y nos atendían la llamada. Ahora, pues, bueno, no sé, ¿verdad? Yo no puedo decir más, no sé por qué, pero de esa causa rompieron la llanta de mi carro, no se pudo ver nada, no sé qué pasa, y muchas cosas que están sucediendo. Ahora los que marihuanos van a las de la ventana y se paran, ahí se están fumando y toda la cosa. No hay yo digo, me pongo a pensar que por el aumento de renta, pienso que es justo que haya alguien revisando entonces, ¿verdad? Como digo, a mí no me han removido, no estoy pagando eso, pero ya me llegó el cobro de la basura y el agua. Hay pues, ¿verdad? Yo tengo un problema como de hace 2 años, que en el zinc de la cocina prácticamente no hay agua helada. Hay agua caliente nada más. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Like everyone here, we are for the same reason for these increases. So this is happening in our community, and we know the increase in rent is because the renovation. Now, recently, I got the bill for water and trash, which is nothing new. But the increase in rent is really substantial and is concerning. Basically, we live in a place where we have drunk people, we have people smoking marijuana and everything. So it's not a safety place. Sometimes they steal cars in the parking area, and there's nothing that we can talk to. Before we had a telephone line where we can call and they were there, but now nobody's there. So I truly believe if this company is renovating the apartments, at least we have to have a safety place. The other thing that happened is they broke my car, especially the tire, and now no one could say anything about it. Some people come to the windows smoking weed, and it's very, very uncomfortable having people smoking weed or drinking, walking around. For this reason, we are here. I haven't got an increase, but lately I got the bill for water and trash. We have a problem in the kitchen where where the kitchen sink doesn't have any cold water, just hot water. So we are here to ask for your help. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Creo que no puedo hablar. Pensé que yo iba a poder hablar, pero lo siento, no puedo hablar. Solo vengo a apoyar a mis compañeros que nos están subiendo mucho la renta. La verdad que es muy triste para nuestras familias. Nosotros salimos a trabajar y a veces dejamos solos a nuestros hijos. Y ahora, ¿a dónde vamos a ir si siguen subiendo la renta? ¿A dónde vamos a ir con nuestros hijos? Es muy difícil. Quisiera decir más palabras. Yo dije, Dios mío, dame palabras para que cuando yo hable enfrente de ellos, yo pueda decirle todo lo que yo siento. Porque la verdad que eso es una gran estrés para nosotros. Tengo una niña de 2 años y una niña de 8 meses. Y la verdad para nosotros es muy estresante eso. Que sigan aumentando las rentas. ¿A dónde vamos a ir si siguen aumentando las rentas? Por eso les pido y les ruego, yo sé que ustedes tienen la autoridad, porque ustedes, lo siento, ya no puedo seguir hablando. Gracias.
I'm sorry, I can't really talk. I'm sorry. I'm just here to support my neighbors. This is very sad. We all go out to work really hard, and we work for our children. Where are we going with this issue with our children? I would like to say more, and I ask God to give me more words, but unfortunately I can't. I have 2 daughters. One is 2 years old and the other one is 8 months. So I'm here to beg you and to ask you to help us, because you guys have the authority to help us. Where are we going with our children? What is going to help? What is going to happen with us? So please help us. I can't talk anymore. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Shinji Sakayagi. I live over by McGinnis Golf Course. Just listening to our community here, it's heartbreaking. My family were impacted as well, and I just look at the breakdown of the room here, and if gentrification occurs, what are we going to be left with, right? So, my experience working with Latinos professionally, academically, hardworking people, right? Very resilient. I've grown a great amount of respect for the community, and I just think about if these people aren't here, if they get run out by the economy or whatever it is, then what are we going to be left with? So it's just we need people. We need this community to remain here for our greater community to exist and prosper. Another point is just going back to the e-bikes. I had the pleasure of going to a Safe Routes to School meeting for Marinwood, and Supervisor Sackett, and thank you, Councilmember Rachel Kurtz and Wendy Collins, and Supervisor Sackett. She spoke about these high-powered bicycles, and as a bicyclist who came here on a bike, I strongly think that we need to educate parents, right? Because kids, I was a kid, I did all kinds of crazy things on a bike. No one told me. So you gotta educate these parents, back to school night, whatever it is, send them an email. That conversation should be like other important conversations that parents have with their kids when they grow up, right? Let's keep our community safe and approachable. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments during public comment? Okay, I will close public comment. Thank you all for coming out this evening. We heard every word and appreciate you being here to share what is happening for each of you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill, if I could also just express appreciation to our interpreters and release them for the evening as well.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the next agenda item, which is the San Rafael Successor Agency. I will ask the members of the Successor Agency if there are any items to be held from the consent calendar for comment. Seeing none, I will ask if there are any comments from the public on the consent calendar. Not seeing any, I will close the public comment and ask for one of the members of the Successor Agency to make a motion and a second to approve this consent.
That we adopt the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. I will ask the city clerk to conduct a roll call vote.
Member Bushy?
Aye.
Member Kurtz? Aye. Member Yadenskulati? Aye. Chair Pro Tem Hill?
Aye, that motion passes 4-0. I will close this agenda item, and before adjournment, just want to say that there were comments made tonight that are, while in alignment with the First Amendment, that we have to accept them. I do not, and I speak for the city, that we do not accept hateful comments, especially when they are directed at a public official. I consider Councilmember Rachel Kurtz a friend, and I do not stand. While we have to accept the comment, I did not appreciate the hatefulness of the comments themselves. Thank you. And with that, I will close our meeting, and we are adjourned.